This is Peter Kahn of The Fight Guys, Forbes boxing contributor and CBS Sportsline boxing betting guru. At least that's what they call me. So, as I'm recording this video right now, I have to tell you that I'm a bit surprised at the line for the Errol Spence Jr. versus Shawn Porter fight for Saturday, September 28th in Los Angeles. Now, although I have Errol Spence Jr. being the favorite to win this fight, I feel that the current line, which is at minus 885, according to my bookie, in Spence's favor is a bit too high, considering Shawn Porter is an elite level welterweight who is truly coming to win. Porter is currently at plus 605 as the underdog, and interestingly enough, 66% of the money right now is coming in on Porter. So expect this line to drop as the fight nears. Now, in some books, I've seen minus 900 for Spence, and I've seen plus 600 for Porter. What that means is that if you were to go to my bookie and you were to wager on this fight at the current line, you would have to wager $885 on Errol Spence to win $100. So for every $885 that you wager, that you bet, you would win $100. Now, on the other hand, if you bet $100 for Shawn Porter to win, you would win $605. So clearly, the line value in this fight is betting Shawn Porter, but the odds makers also take that into account. That's why it's called handicapping, because they basically assign a probability to that happening, and then they put odds against it. So I'm always emphasizing when betting on sports, specifically boxing, that you have to understand line value. So let me give you the reason behind my pick for this fight. And when I mean my pick, I don't mean who I think is going to win. For this specific video, it's about where I feel the betting value is. So every fighter has an off night, and that argument can be made for Shawn Porter in his last fight against Yordenis Ugas, in which Porter won a split decision that many felt was a gift, myself included. Porter had issues making weight for that fight. If you don't remember, they resorted to cutting hair at the weigh-in. And, maybe it was just an off night against a difficult guy to fight in Ugas, who had the height and reach advantage against Porter and just made it difficult. Nonetheless, facts are facts. And historically, Porter has victories over some pretty big names, such as Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner, Andre Berto, Paulie Malignaggi, Devin Alexander, and Adrian Granados. I mean, these are all big wins for Porter. I believe he's also a 2-division world champion. So, the reason I mention this is because Porter's only losses are to Keith Thurman in a very close fight in Brooklyn and Kell Brook by majority decision. Now, many will say that Brook, being a common opponent for both Spence and Porter, is a good way to gauge how the fighters could match up. I mean, that's common sense. But the Brook that fought Porter was still operating at his peak and hadn't moved up yet to get demolished by Gennady Golovkin, or was suffering the weight issues he would encounter in the next couple of years. Spence fought Brook 3 years after Porter fought him and after the Golovkin fight. Let me be clear here. I'm not suggesting that Porter is going to defeat Spence, because I don't think he's going to win this fight. What I do find attractive is the plus 605 that has a lot of value. However, keep listening here, and you'll see where I land on this fight with regard to my best bets. So with all of this being said, this is where I see value in the fight. Spence has a 2-inch height advantage at 5'9", a significant reach advantage with a 72.5-inch reach versus Porter's 68-inch reach. I know fans don't want to hear what I have to say when I say that I still haven't seen Spence fight anyone that would allow me to honestly say he's the best welterweight in the world yet. I still think Crawford's better than Errol Spence Jr. Yes, he defeated Kell Brook to win the title. I was at that fight in Sheffield, England. Brook was suffering intensely prior to the weigh-in, trying to make weight. I was there. I was looking at it. I saw him. He could barely move. He was very weak. He was also still suffering from the facial issues that Golovkin had inflicted on him in their fight, and I feel that spilled into this fight with Spence, which was his very first fight back from going to middleweight. So maybe that weight cut was also just, like I said, so difficult. And he also was coming off of suffering a fractured orbital bone. So Spence defeated Mikey Garcia most recently, who moved up 2 weight classes to challenge Spence in what was more of a sparring session. The weight disparity was just too much, but he couldn't stop him. We also have Carlos Ocampo, which was a mandatory, a body shot in the first round. We have Lamont Peterson on that list, We have Chris Algieri, who was already moving out of his prime. We have a fighter that I manage in Chris Van Heerden, who gave Spence a really good fight as far as standing in there and his toughness. The point is, while I feel Spence has a lot to still show, he's going to be the better man against Porter, who's going to try to make this a rough fight versus boxing match. Spence is the younger and stronger man. He's also the bigger man and better pure boxer. Well, I don't see Spence stopping Porter. I do see the taller southpaw against the shorter orthodox fighter being a recipe for headbutts and cuts, especially the way Porter loves to rush in. I see Spence trying to avoid the infighting if he can, but I also see him doing the more damaging body work. I see Porter having some success in spurts, but ultimately not being able to avoid Spence's textbook jab and solid footwork. I do see Porter making it to the final bell, barring a stoppage on cuts. My best bets for this fight are as follows. Errol Spence by decision or technical decision, minus 163, which means you would have to bet $163 to win 100. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait a second. Didn't you just tell us that it was minus $885 for Errol Spence? Yes, that's to win. Now, remember, that could be by stoppage, disqualification. It could be by Porter not answering the bell. It could be, from a decision. However, by betting decision or technical decision, you're specifically betting that type of outcome. So it's minus 163 for Spence by decision or technical decision. Now, I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but the value is way too good here. Errol Spence to win in rounds 10 through 12 is at plus 900. Now, I know these two bets offset each other. However, the value is too good at plus 900 not to think that Porter might run out of gas and go for broke in these rounds, opening himself up to a TKO. So at plus 900, you bet $100 to win 900. This is where we're picking Spence to win in rounds 10 through 12, meaning by stoppage, TKO, KO, Porter's corner, calling it quits, whatever it is. So here's one that the value is also very good. And remember, I emphasize, we're not talking about who's going to win. I think Errol Spence is going to win this fight, okay? If I had to tell you who do I feel is going to win, yeah, I feel Errol Spence is going to win this fight. But we're talking about as it relates to betting and odds and line value. So here's something a little crazy, which I had success in the first Gennady Golovkin-Canelo fight. And it's actually exactly the same odds at plus 2,200, and that is a draw. And my question to you is, why not? If Porter makes these rounds close and tries to steal rounds with flurries, we might be looking at a closer fight on the cards than the experts think. It is possible, but like I said, to bet 100 to make 2,200 in the sports betting conversation, there's value here. So, look, as always, please subscribe to our channel. Watch our other entertaining videos as we share our expert opinions, commentary, and exclusive interviews. Please don't forget to like and share as well.